Here's a really fun one for today. If you guys do any acrylic or polycarbonate or anything that's clear, if you do glue up, this will save you a lot of time and money. What I've done here is I've put a groove that's red behind what I'm going to glue. Now, although this has been pre-glued in here, if you look at where the parts would seam together down here, you can see that there's a void. That red void is behind the pieces of plastic. Now, because of that void, if any glue came out of this joint while you were, solvent bonding, it wouldn't wick up the back and ruin your part. What it would do is it puts little tiny beads that squirt out the back. And generally, an 1/8 inch wide track is more than enough to stop those from coming in contact with anything. So they just harden up back there. And when you pull it away, you'll see that you have a bad glue joint, but it's all topography that's outward, swollen. So when this completely cures and all the methylene or all the MEK is out of it, it's all perfectly dry. You can then sand it, and these are just high spots that are going to be lowered really quickly. And that will blend in so perfectly you will never know you did that. If you want to get your joints really white, snow white, clean your parts after you're done cutting them. Literally go over them with some Windex, paper towel, whatever it takes. You want to have your hands ultra clean. And once you put the parts together, then you'll find that you cannot tell where the seam even was once it's been solvent bonded. If you don't clean your parts perfectly, you will only see a tiny area in between the two where the white is not snow white. And it's just that micro amount of dirt that's trapped in there, if you will. So this works whether you're going to do wood glue joints and press down on stuff, whatever it is. Giving yourself some room for that to ooze out the back is the best thing you could do. I split it in half, giving 60 thousandths, a 16th up and a 16th down of the glue joint. And that's more than enough that I have found to make it happen. If you're going to be doing something that's going to really be flooded or you know is going to ooze quite a bit, feel free to make these a little bit bigger. I have found that the best way to keep the stuff from coming out the back is you have to be burr-free on all your plastic parts, number one, so that when you put the solvent in, it doesn't just collapse the burr and then the solvent goes spraying everywhere. And number two, your parts have to be held down and fit well. Because if they don't, the solvent will sit in that glue joint where the void is, thereby weakening it because there's so much glue in it. And once the plastic finally gives way and presses down, then all the glue and all the plastic mess comes out and welds it against a back wall or comes up against the back edge and makes a mess here. It's all okay though. As long as it all happens in between this groove, everything will be out. It just builds up in topography, which can be sanded down. Not a big deal. The next thing you would do if you're going to make a couple of pieces like this is, let's say your glue joint's all done up front. Now it's time to do the back glue joint. Well, I'm going to give you a trick on how to do that next. Next, what you'd want to do is put a little bit of load again with your safety glasses on, a little bit of load on your bottle. And you're going to take your fingers and you're going to ride them right along this edge while you put a little bit of that material on. So you're going to want to put the needle a little past your glue joint, and you're going to let surface tension wet that surface as you bring this down. See that? And then hold the part so it stays flat, so it doesn't drain all over the place. And let the solvent flash off. That's going to do two things. You've now filled any spot that wasn't completely filled with solvent, and you secondarily have caused it to all start to flow together. This solvent is causing things to swell up. And that's exactly what you want, because you don't want to see that seam when you're all said and done. You want this to look like it came out of a factory as this shape. You don't want anybody to see that seam. So now after that flashes off, and it has now, you could just let it sit so that the seam isn't on a flat surface. And it can just, how do I say, air dry. Once you're done with that and it's sat overnight, come back, at least overnight. 24 hours is best. Come back then with 320 on a block, followed by 400, followed by 6 if you want to. And give it a little bit of moisture, some kind of spray, mist if you like, just to keep things damp. It'll keep the sandpaper clean. It'll also keep this from burning due to friction. So it works real well for you. It even helps if you put like 1 drop of dishwashing detergent like Dawn or something in your spray misting bottle. If it's like a quart, 1 drop is more than enough. It really, really helps. And when you're all said and done, you have a perfectly new looking part. It's amazing how well it works. I laid up an extrusion for you guys that I didn't sand up yet, but in just a few minutes I'm going to do that. And you can see right now, plain as day. Well, maybe you can't. This is a little tough. I got to get just the right amount of light on here. There, that started to show a little bit. You can see the saw marks in those glue joints. This is all going to be removed, and it's going to end up looking just about like this. But I didn't pre-wash these parts, so you are going to see that micro fine line that's not perfectly white. But it's going to be a job that'll amaze you. So give me a couple minutes to sand this down, and I will be right back. Pretty exciting. That came out unbelievable. That was only 320. Is all I've done. I left the end my hand is holding. We left this all stock. And just this side that you're seeing now has been sanded. Just so you could see the before and after a little bit. Other side the same way. Only I didn't sand quite as far in. But it came out fantastic. You guys can now make any parts you want playing this game, and then you'll never see any of the seams. Now, yeah, we could have taken something to deburr the inside of this and make it absolutely perfect. I did not. I just sanded it quick. This took me about 4 or 5 minutes to just sand the one end of each side. And then I did a quick touch-up on the one end, but I didn't do it perfectly. There's a little miss mark up here that I didn't see until just a little bit ago. But nonetheless, that is a very nice looking part, and it took no time to do that kind of sanding. If you use my fixture against the wall and you play the game right here, you can get such a tight joint that there's a minimal amount of sanding left to do. And you're immediately to the point where it's time to paint and make it look good after that. So if you were to hit something like this with paint next, this would certainly look like all one piece. There would be nobody who could tell you that you put this together. And that's the cool part about assembling with solvents. You guys let me know what you think. Take care.